Hey, so YouTube strategy. What is it? Why does it matter? And how can you use it for your business? Let's talk about it. My name is Matias with Nerdgate Media, and we help businesses use YouTube to grow their audience and generate leads. And today we're going to talk about YouTube strategy. So, what is YouTube strategy? YouTube strategy is a data-driven plan that covers things like channel positioning, content pillars, upload cadence, SEO, that sort of thing. It's the difference between having a channel that looks on brand and communicates a specific story and a channel that uploads unrelated videos that all look a little bit different and uploads sporadically. If you know anything about marketing, you know that strategy plays a huge role in the consistency of your messaging. So having a strategy for YouTube is key to having that consistent message and having a good channel that tells your story. A good strategy is what turns your YouTube channel into something that can grow your audience and form a relationship with them. So what does a channel look like when it doesn't have a good YouTube strategy? You might be producing videos without a cohesive theme, which means viewers don't really know why they should subscribe to you. You might be posting inconsistently, so viewers don't know when to expect your videos, and the algorithm doesn't know how to allocate resources to classifying and spreading your videos. You might not be looking at your data or not know how it affects your plan, which means you're kind of flying blind and you don't know what's working or what isn't. And you might be focusing on vanity metrics like views and subscribers when you should be focusing on whether or not you're driving traffic and qualified leads to your website or your sales funnel. So having that YouTube strategy is going to solve those problems and make sure your channel is working the way that you want it to. So how does a YouTube strategy actually work in practice? I would divide the elements of a good YouTube strategy into 3 pillars. Those are audience research and how your channel affects your audience, content strategy and road mapping, and measurement and optimization. So what's that first one? Audience research and how your channel interacts with your audience. That has all to do with your brand and your product. If you have a business, you have a product, and you already know who that product is for. So you already have an audience member. So part of figuring out your YouTube strategy is figuring out how that audience member shows up on YouTube. If you have a skydiving business, for example, you might be thinking about how do you reach YouTube users who are into high-risk activities and extreme sports and that sort of thing. If you're a law firm that specializes in business law, you might be thinking about how do I target new business owners or existing business owners. We already know that YouTube has over 2 billion monthly active users, so we know that all these people are on YouTube to some extent. So the strategy piece is researching that audience and figuring out how to find them and how to talk to them through video. The second step is the content strategy piece. What are you actually going to be making your videos about? This is where you get into things like topic clusters or content pillars. If you're that skydiving business, maybe you have a content pillar on education and safety, where you actually tell people, about skydiving, how it works, how the parachutes work, how safe it is, that sort of thing. Then you have another content pillar on entertainment, where you just have a bunch of compilations of people jumping out of airplanes. Now, some of the things that you want to think about when you're putting together content pillars is also, what is the goal for each content pillar? For example, if you have a content pillar that's all about education, that content pillar might be more specifically for building trust with your audience and building that relationship. If you have a content pillar that's more about entertainment, that's going to be more for discoverability. That's going to bring the eyeballs in, that's going to bring the brand awareness up. And when you're thinking about your content strategy, you should also think about your posting cadence. How often are you going to be uploading videos? It would be great if we all had the budget and the bandwidth to upload highly produced videos once a day, but not all of us are at that point yet. So the key here is to think about what is sustainable that is going to maintain the quality that you need for your content pillars to work. For example, if you're doing an educational video, you don't need a fancy camera, you don't need a key light. You can set up your phone and start talking into it. And you don't even need any fancy editing, but you probably need to be good at explaining topics in a simple way that your audience can understand. Consistency and cadence doesn't mean you have to post every day. I would advise really trying to post at least every other week, but if you're making highly produced content that is really good and people enjoy watching, it's perfectly fine to post once a month. I've seen a lot of channels succeed that way. It's really just about being consistent, having that consistent cadence, and having the good quality content. Okay, and the last one, measurement and optimization. How are you going to be looking at the data from your videos and then working with it to improve each video that you make and each posting that you put up? The way that most people are going to be finding your videos is through the YouTube algorithm. And the YouTube algorithm has one job, and that is to give the best video possible to the user so that they spend more time watching YouTube videos. So if you're ever questioning, what do you do with your data to make your videos better? Just think, how do I get people to watch more of my videos and to watch them for longer? So YouTube Studio, which is the back end of your YouTube channel, will show you things like click-through rates for your titles and thumbnails, retention rates, which means are people watching your video all the way through or are they dropping off? and things like impressions, or how often is the algorithm showing your video to users in different areas of YouTube. And all these are important. So your click-through rate is a direct indicator of how good your title and thumbnail are in combination with the topic of your video. Are people clicking on your video to watch it? This is important because if you post your video out there but nobody's clicking on it, nobody's gonna see it. And we'll make some more videos where we dive specifically into these metrics and how to improve them. So don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss those videos. Okay, retention rates are also really important because they have to do with whether people are watching your video all the way through or if they're clicking away at the very beginning. This is one of the key metrics that tells the algorithm whether to serve your video up to more people or not. If you make a really good video that's optimized for retention and people are watching it all the way through, the algorithm's gonna love that, and it's gonna try to show your video to as many people as possible. This is how you get videos that have millions of views. Because remember, the goal of the YouTube algorithm is to keep people watching YouTube. So looking at your retention rates and thinking about retention is really important. And the last one, impressions. Impressions tells you how the algorithm is reacting to what you're doing. So when you look at your impressions and you look at the traffic source of your impressions, you can see where the algorithm is showing your video. Is it showing it in the suggested videos area? Is it showing it in browse features? Is it showing it on people's homepages? That sort of thing. Now, another useful thing about the impressions metric is that it tells you how well the algorithm understands your video, because it also tries to understand the topic so that it can serve it to the people who would be interested in that topic. And part of the strategy of using these metrics and optimizing your channel and your video postings is to also include keywords and SEO words in your posting so that the algorithm will have more signals to know what topics to assign to that video and which audience members to show it to. Okay, so let's quickly go over some best practices on discoverability and retention. With discoverability, you want to use searchable terms and think about keyword research and SEO. So using search-driven titles and descriptions. For example, if you're making a video about a video game store in Raleigh, North Carolina, and you want people in Raleigh to find that when they're looking for video game stores, put those words in the title and the description, because when users go to search for video game stores in Raleigh, North Carolina on Google or on YouTube, your video is going to show up for them. You also want to use clickable titles and thumbnails. And what does that mean? So a clickable title and thumbnail means that your title and thumbnail should be instantly understood and entice the user to want to watch your video. So when you're doing your title and thumbnail, the two questions that you should ask are, is it clear and is it interesting? A lot of people who use YouTube know that you need to have a really interesting title and thumbnail, but everyone forgets about the clarity piece. I see so many titles and thumbnails that are too complicated, that have way too much going on, titles with a reading level like grade 8 or above. But remember, your title and your thumbnail are not there to tell the user everything about your video. They are only there to get them to click on the video and watch it. And when a user is scrolling YouTube, they're not going to spend time on your title and thumbnail to try to understand it. They're either going to immediately understand it or they're not, and they're going to move on. So unless you're doing a very specific, very complicated topic for a very niche audience, I would aim for a reading level of grade 1 for your title. Can you make it that clear? Great. Now make it interesting. Those two things, that's all you need. Another thing you can do for discoverability is to follow trends. This is the age-old social media tactic. Some businesses are going to lend themselves better to trends than others. If your business is set up to follow trends, go for it, because the eyeballs are already there. And if you're not sure if your business is set up to follow trends, maybe just think about it a little bit. Okay, and best practices for retention. One of the most important things for retention is to get users to watch more than 15 seconds of your video. Most users are going to click away in those first 15 seconds. So when you're scripting your video, when you're outlining it, when you're planning the content, put a lot of effort into figuring out how you're going to keep the viewer engaged and interested and build up interest in those first 15 seconds of the video. You need a strong hook. Along with a strong hook, you need to make sure that your video looks decent and sounds good. There's this thing people say where people will watch a video that looks bad as long as it sounds good, but people are not going to watch a video that sounds bad no matter how good it looks. Make sure you have nice, clean audio that is loud enough and mastered loud enough for YouTube. And that's for the visuals, just make sure it looks decent. It is video after all, so people want something to look at, so just make sure there's something there that people can look at. Another big part of retention is storytelling and pacing. This is probably one of the hardest parts of making a video, and a lot of it comes with practice, but storytelling and pacing is really about knowing how to maintain somebody's attention throughout the video by maintaining value the entire time. So cutting out things like silent moments, or maybe you go off on a tangent that's completely irrelevant to what you're talking about in the video, maybe cutting that part out. And then there's some additive ways to improve your storytelling and pacing, for example, using B-roll or adding graphics and sound effects. However, depending on your audience, it's really easy to go overboard with that, so be careful. Another way to improve retention is to use YouTube's features like chapters, playlists, and end screens. So using chapters in your video makes it really easy for viewers to skip around in your video and revisit areas that they want to watch again. Playlists are really good for giving the viewer multiple things to watch, especially if you have a series of videos that kind of all go together, or a course or something like that. Having a playlist makes it really easy for viewers to watch all of those videos in succession without having to go find them themselves. And then end screens. In a similar way to playlists, end screens give the viewer something to do on your channel after they finish your video. So you can use the end screen to encourage the viewer to go watch another relevant video that you have. Or you can include a subscribe button to remind them that they should subscribe to your channel. All those things are going to improve retention because they encourage viewers to stay on your channel and keep watching your videos and stay on YouTube. And real quick, some things to watch out for: you don't want to be misleading with your titles. So you don't want to try and crowd them with a bunch of keywords that aren't relevant. You want to avoid having unfocused content or inconsistent content. And be careful about overusing things like AI generated content. It's an easy way to make a video, but audiences are very wary of that, especially on YouTube. Cool, so this was a really quick overview of YouTube strategy, what it is, and how you can start using it. If you want to learn more about it, you can visit our website, nerdgatemedia.com. And like I said, we're going to be making more videos on these topics that dive a little deeper into them. So if you want to see those videos, make sure you subscribe. Like this video if you found it useful. And I'm also curious to hear what your biggest challenges are with running a YouTube channel. Knowing how to address challenges like that is a big part of YouTube strategy, so I'm always trying to learn. All right, we'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching.